Hello, welcome to Carolina Classrooms. I'm Kimberly Singletary. Our guests today include college admissions professionals from across the state. We have Kaela Gardner, freshman admissions counselor at Clemson University. Ty Robbins, admissions counselor at Winthrop University. Nicholas Ketaner, associate director for admissions and testing at Midlands Technical College. Michelle McDowell, Senior Associate Director of Admissions at the College of Charleston, and Dr. Gerrick Hampton from the South Carolina Commission on Higher Education. Welcome to all of you. This panel was put together by the South Carolina Commission on Higher Education. What is the purpose of our discussion today, and who is the intended audience?
At the Commission on Higher Education, one of the goals that we have as an agency is to try to become an informational hub, I guess, for college access, college admissions, really anything dealing with trying to access post-secondary education. We've tried to do this a number of ways, and a couple of the ways that we've done, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, is we developed actually 2 websites. The first is SCETV.org, which is counselor-driven. It's directed towards counselors. Basically as a resource for them to access our college access programs, which I think we'll talk about a little bit later, but also state scholarship information and other resources, but it's really counselor focused. The other website is brand new. It's che.sc.gov. It's our new informational website, and that one's actually geared towards students, parents. It's really designed to help constituents figure out college access, college finances, really to develop their pathway to obtaining a degree. And so as we started batting around ideas on content for those 2 websites, we just started thinking about possibly having a podcast, or at least a really good in-depth panel discussion focusing a lot on college access. And so when we started thinking about who could be best for that program, who could help us with these tapings, with the panel, we decided we would try to contact some of the outstanding admissions officers from across the state. And so I contacted Michelle McDowell, and she helped me put together a panel for this discussion today. And we're here today really to focus a lot on the college admissions process, trends in higher education in South Carolina, and get the institutional representative perspective on what's going on in terms of South Carolina higher education. And so that's what brings us here today.
What are some of the trends that you are seeing within higher education from students coming out of high school today?
Well, some of the trends, and I'll go ahead and chime in, some of the trends that we're seeing today are really the options that students have today in higher education, particularly in the state of South Carolina. There is something for every student in the state of South Carolina. So we're seeing students take more advantage of all the different sectors within higher education in the state of South Carolina, as well as the different mechanisms of delivery of higher education in the state. So I think, and my colleagues can kind of chime in as to what they see as well. But I think we're starting to see that trend with more of our students are attending institutions of higher education because of the different delivery and the types of programs that we're starting to offer.
And I think that those students coming in also have more career readiness as well as financial savviness in that they're doing a lot now in high school to help gear them up for their program of study once they get to college. They're more aware of the careers that are out there. We at least see a lot less undecided students coming in because they've had more options in high school to explore those career options. And they're also focusing a lot more these days on, not just affordability of college, but what's the value that's being given and provided here. So not is this college just affordable, but is it going to be worth what I'm paying for it? Which, from my generation going through college, it was you're going to take out what you want to take out to go to whatever college you want to go to it, and they're much more financially savvy about that these days.
Oh, definitely, and I have to say that the course offerings that we are able to offer nowadays really help students get that early introductory coursework in their junior and senior level of high school, and then once they transition to college, they're going to have some of those introductory courses that are already knocked out, and they're going to be able to focus even more intently on those higher level courses.
I think one of the main questions that I get now when I'm on the road traveling is basically what can you do for me? So why would I want to come to your school? Like, what can your school offer me? And I remember when a student first asked me, I was like, that's a great question. So I think a lot of students come in with that mentality. They know they are great students. They know they would be great assets to the school. So why should I choose your institution over other institutions? And that's not something necessarily when I was coming in, that's not necessarily a question I would have been confident enough to ask. It was, I really want to come to your school, instead of, no, why should I come?
And I think that confidence is a part due to all the resources they're being provided now, like the CHE websites, things of that nature, is that with all those resources and all that knowledge about all the different higher education opportunities that are out there, they can be more selective in, well, are you going to help me out here? It's got to be a mutually beneficial relationship there.
Exactly. And the key word is access. You know, access, and that's just why this platform is so great, and the initiatives at CHE, because we're giving parents and students the access to everything that they need to, to plan and prepare for their son or daughter getting ready to go off to college.
My application process, I was a little bit of a nerd, and I kind of have been looking at where I wanted to go to school since 7th or the 8th grade. Took my first college tour with my parents summer after my freshman year of high school, and I think I remember being the only student that young on the tour. And so by the time I got to my senior year, I had narrowed it down to 8 schools and applied to those 8 schools. Didn't get accepted to any of my top 3, which were all out of state, so a little more difficult to get into. And so that was really difficult for me, not getting accepted to those top 3 schools. But looking back, it taught me a lot of lessons, I guess, because a lot of those schools that I've been interested in that were my top 3 schools, the schools I didn't get accepted to, looking back, really weren't schools that actually made sense for what I wanted to do coming out of college. They didn't make sense for my major. They're more just kind of dream schools that I had gotten attached to when I was in the 7th grade, dreaming of college. They weren't really practical choices, which isn't to say I haven't enjoyed my time at South Carolina, but it's kind of become my new dream school as I've interacted with it. I really loved being with the people and loved all the experiences I've gotten, but if I hadn't been rejected from those schools that didn't make sense to me in the first place, I wouldn't be in the right place where I am now. So I guess my advice to students applying is to, yes, look for your dream school and look for all those fun things that you're interested in a school, but also just keep track of your goals and what you hope to accomplish and work backwards from there. And just make sure that the schools you're applying to keep in track with it. I did a lot of the application work myself. I read picked up a lot of books just on applying to college, and top colleges that reviewed colleges and things like that, dealing with the application and my choice process. My parents were a big help, but I also talked to our college, I think it was called a college guidance counselor office, at my high school, and they helped me a lot as far as reading over some of my application essays, answering any questions I had. So I definitely would suggest doing that and talking to them, because a lot of times, even if they don't know exactly the answer to your question, they can direct you towards someone that will know that answer.
Awesome. How effective do you think our institutions are in preparing students for college? With like the pre-college program? I know you touched on that when you talked about the junior and the senior year, getting those early classes out.
Definitely. Well, there's 2 different areas that I mainly focus on when it's discussing college preparedness for students. First off, you have to look at their academic rigor of their courses and the skills that they're learning in the classroom that translate directly to succeeding in the classroom in whatever courses they're looking to do in college. That's what school has been really good at preparing students for years and years and years, and it's only getting better. The other area that I see students getting a lot of extra help nowadays that I wish was more available when I was going through high school is the life skills that students are able to learn while they're in high school. Whether it's understanding that you need to be independent and completely self-reliant on your work, self-motivated. Those are skills that are incredibly necessary to succeed in college and go forth after your graduate work and be successful.
Early awareness is really important, and I think a lot of our institutions, particularly in the state of South Carolina, we're exercising early awareness as early as elementary school. We're starting to do more appearances in elementary schools now, doing college fairs, even on that level. So bringing the early awareness piece into our elementary levels, middle school levels is very important. When we get to the high school level, a lot of us have different programs, particularly at the College of Charleston. We have summer programs where rising juniors and rising seniors can come on campus, not necessarily to, extend focus completely on the College of Charleston, but a college preparatory kind of program, so that it will prepare them for any institution that they're looking to apply to. And of course, we're going to lay the red carpet out and put the College of Charleston spin on it. Of course, we want to be in that that top 5 category with students' choices. But the early awareness piece is so important right now, and I think in the state of South Carolina, we're doing a pretty good job with doing that.
Yeah, and I think as higher education representatives, we're very limited in assisting students reach the necessary academic levels. We can't really lend our help there so much outside of dual enrollment, course offerings, things of that nature. But that college and career awareness, just starting to teach the younger students the vocabulary. Okay, alumni, what does that word mean? I've had elementary school students ask me that. So helping build that higher education vocabulary so that when they reach that senior year of high school, it's not all new, fresh information to them, and they can process it much easier as they move along.
I would just add, and I would echo my colleagues, I think across the board as a whole, our institutions have done a really good job becoming a bigger presence in our high schools. There was a time way back when, and I won't date myself, when I was coming up, you may see 1 or 2 colleges, a month at my high school, which was a pretty good high school. And now we have colleges participating very heavily in College Application Month, College Decision Day. They just make regular visits to the schools just because they do a really good job keeping tabs on students. Now, the one thing I would probably add is that there are some areas in the state that I think need a little more attention, and I think that's fair to say. But I do think as a whole we are doing a really good job reaching the students, getting them a little more prepared. I would ask Nick, not to put you on the spot, I would ask you to talk a little bit about the remediation piece or developmental courses, or when students are coming out, are what kind of things are we seeing with that?
Yeah, I mean, we're always going to have students who are graduating high school. Maybe they're not on the same level as their peers. They need a little extra work in order to get into those college level courses. So the technical college system is great in the state of South Carolina in that students don't necessarily have to place into college level in order to attend college. They can start at their local technical college, start taking developmental reading and math courses. We can build their skill levels up in order for them to then enter into a college program and move forward and complete a degree. So I definitely think there's plenty of options out there for students of, you can have the highest SAT or ACT scores and GPA or the lowest. There are going to be college options for you, or any type of higher education option, whether it's training. A lot of people these days are no longer just looking toward academics. There's job training out there as well. I think the important thing for the students in our state is not to stop after high school. Find something to do to further your education, whether training or academics.
Make you employable. And I think one thing, Nick, that we're starting to see, I know, at the 2-year technical colleges, we are finding that, again, you don't have to have the low GPAs or the lower rigor in academics, but we're finding that a lot of our top students, valedictorians, and the 1,400 and 1,500 SAT students are choosing to go to 2-year institutions because they want to just have that employability. They want to go directly into the world of work. So it's not only just to remediate or to get that extra step up, but they're choosing to go that route so they can go into the world of work.
Well, yeah, and I think higher education has become so much more personalized to the individuals these days, which is why I also think technical colleges are seeing some of those students is you can't just look at the academic aspects of a student anymore. Okay, how's their emotional maturity? Is it there? Are they ready to leave home? Are they ready to live in a residential hall? You have to look at their family obligations. We see plenty of students who have to take care of siblings or have to contribute to the family income. So having those options out there for them and having resources where they can explore and learn those options, they can still find higher education opportunity that fits who they are and what their needs are.
Yeah, family dynamic has changed so much. You know, now, you know, as we're in what we call for your institutions reading season, reading applications, and for us, we read every essay that the students write. So we're reading essays, and I notice a lot, you know, a lot of our students are dealing with emotional, real life issues that, you know, back in my day, and Dr. Hampton, I'm not going to date myself either, but, you know, the only thing I had to worry about was applying and where I wanted to go to. But reading some of these things that our students are going through emotionally and, you know, everything that they're dealing with, it's a lot. It's a lot. So to really the maturity level, I think is really important as well, so they can handle a 4-year institution and be able to be successful.
Applying to college was scary. I remember thinking it was the biggest decision of my life, and my mom telling me, no, this is not the biggest decision of your life. I know it feels that way, but it's really not. I remember thinking if I didn't get this one perfect school or this great scholarship that I wouldn't be going to school. But in the end, things worked out the way they were supposed to be, and I think applying is scarier than actually going to school in some ways. I applied to the schools that my parents went to, that my siblings went to, and that's the school that I ended up going to, was the same one as them. And I tell, if the advice that I would give to somebody is to apply somewhere that feels right to you. And if you go there and you feel like you could be a student there, then that seems like a great place for you to go. Don't force yourself to want to go to somewhere else, because you'll be happier if you go somewhere that you choose on your own. Things I wish I knew ahead of time when applying to college. I really wish that I would have known that things would have worked out the way that they were supposed to. I remember stressing out and crying all the time just because I was nervous and I was scared to start this new step in my life. And you know, once I sent off my last application, it was a huge weight off my shoulders, because I just felt finally like I was free from those restraints. And I wish that I would have known that things would work out the way they were supposed to, and that I didn't need to spend all those nights and stressing and worrying so much, because I think that took away from my senior year of high school. I think it really depleted from my experience a little bit, because I was so scared and nervous about college, when in the end I was applying and I was gonna go somewhere, and applying made it sound scarier than actually going.
What do you think colleges are looking for out of the new students, out of the high school seniors? What are they looking for?
It's good.
I mean, honestly, it depends on the institution. I say for Clemson, it is heavily academic based. So we typically look at 5 different academic components. So we're going to take a look at the test scores, class rank, GPA, rigor of the course schedule in high school, and the choice of major. Whereas College of Charleston, USC Columbia, Midlands Tech, other colleges, they are going to, I call it the holistic review. They are going to look at that essay. They're going to see what have you done outside of the classroom. So I definitely think it's important for students to, when they do their research, to whether it's call, whether it's go to the college fairs and ask, like, what do you look for in a student? Because every institution is not the same.
Very true. Winthrop has a very similar approach to admissions as Clemson does. We primarily look at the student's transcript information and their standardized test scores. That's a very consistent way for us to evaluate students. We love to learn more about our students. We actually don't require an essay as a part of our application, but it is supplementary information that students can add to their packet. It's a great way for us to get to learn a little bit about their student, but we make our primary decisions based off of their academic rigor and their scores that they're receiving on that SAT or ACT. But you will see schools across the state, public and private, that have different approaches to how they evaluate students.
I guess I come from a little bit of a different mindset at Midlands Technical College and the South Carolina Technical College system, in that we're a non-competitive admissions process. So we're less looking at their application to see what those scores are, that sort of thing. And so what I could speak more toward is what I'm looking for when I have an interaction with a student. What makes me walk away from an interaction with a student saying, they're going to be really good on our campus. And one is what Ty mentioned earlier, the soft skills. Having those necessary soft skills to be able to communicate, step into our office, sit across the table from us, look us in the eye, have a conversation with us, not have their parent or guardian relay every message to us when we're trying to look at the student and talk to them. So those soft skills are huge because we can help students as much or as little as they'll allow us to, and when we're working one-on-one with a student and they have those skills necessary, that's always helpful. And then when we go back to Kaela, when you mentioned students are saying these days, well, what can you do for me? I think the same holds true for colleges in that, listen, we want to take the best students that are out there, but we also want to know you want to come to campus to make a difference. Right. You want to impact our campus. You want to change our campus for the better, because those are the students who are then going to allow you to go out and find other students and be like, look at these awesome things that have changed or are going on here.
Very true.
Very similar to Kaela and Ty, we do, of course, take a look at the academic component when selecting students, but being a liberal arts university, we also, want to look at the holistic student, and so we do required essay. We like to see not only technically and grammatically how a student is writing, but we want to know the thought process. We want to know how much that student knows about that particular area that they're writing about. We want to go through the journey with them as we're reading that particular essay. So even reading the essay has taken on a different component. We're going to make sure your period's in the right place, commas, and all of that good stuff, because we want to know that you have learned some things along the way. But we're also going to take a look at, your thought process and your knowledge of that particular topic that you're writing about. So a holistic approach is what we take. We know standardized test scores does not make the student and does not tell us everything about the student. So that is a component of our evaluation, but not the only thing that we look at. I believe for the most of us, the most important thing is the transcript and the level of courses, rigor of courses that student is taking, how well they're challenging themselves while in high school.
Okay, all right. So are you finding that the students are prepared when they come to your university, your colleges?
Good question. It's $1 million question right there.
Again, I think it depends on the school. Like whether it's, two things. I think it depends on the school, and I also think it depends on the student and what they took advantage of when they were in high school. So, there are some students who just did the college prep courses. There are some students who went the honors AP dual enrollment route, which is more of an idea of what you can get in college. So if you just kind of cruise through high school, you might not be prepared like you think you're going to be once you get to college. But if students, and every single class does not have to be AP. I tell students all the time, I was terrible math and science. Give me a CP class in math and science, but arts and humanities, give me honors Spanish, give me, AP English. So I always tell students to whatever it is that you are strong in, take those rigorous courses because they look good once you apply to colleges and you're going to be better prepared. So I think it's two different sides to that.
Very true.
I would even partially flip that question around, because every student we see has so many different factors that impact their life and their preparedness. So the question isn't, are students more prepared for us? Are our support systems at our college more prepared for those students to meet each student where they are and build them up to where they need to be?
Yes, and kind of going off of that, I mean, it is both ways. We want to see those students who are driven to do incredibly well in their area of study, but we have to understand that these students are coming from all over our state, all over the nation, and all over the world in some cases. So we have to have those support systems in place. At Winthrop, we have tutoring sessions that we're allowing our students to take access for free, whether it's through the chemistry department or if it's through our academic success center. We also have mentorship programs within your first year on campus to kind of help you establish those bonds between other students, faculty, and staff.
And again, a lot of what my colleagues, just said, and I think that I think Kaela kind of touched on it with the AP and the CP classes. A lot of our students are, they're soaring with taking CP, not because they cannot operate or do well and be successful in AP or honors, simply because they're comfortable. It's a comfort zone. So when they get to college and that first year, it's, oh my goodness, I got to shift. I gotta study differently now. This is not that
Have to
CP
study, period.
math class, right? It's not the same. It's not the same. The first year. So what we don't want to do is backdoor a student. When they come in, they're prepared. Again, those support services that's on the campus, letting students know that they are there for them, and not for students to come and look for help towards the end when it's the last day of class, the last exam day, and we got to get that grade up. So support systems are very, very important, and just really encouraging students that if you're A-level CP, you can manage. Let's go on to the honors level. It's like baby steps. Let's go to the honors level, and then maybe try an AP and some of those higher level courses a little later. But it's all about balance. It's all about balance, and I think the message that we have to send as colleges and universities is that of encouragement to do that. Be great where you are. If you're great in CP, be great there. Do that. It's not an automatic that you're not going to do well at a four-year institution.
And when you're looking at the students now, it used to be, oh yeah, we have support systems in place for these students. With all the resources they now have to explore colleges, and the proliferation of all that information out to them, and they can be a little more picky about things, we've had to personalize a lot more and be a little more proactive in those resources. So whereas before, we have this tutoring center that everyone can take advantage of. Well, okay, now we have specific things in place for first-generation students.
Right.
Now we have things in place.
Exactly.
Okay, you're a student who filed as an independent on your FAFSA. Chances are you don't have a support system at home. So you need something in order to help you move along. So it's not just personalizing an enrollment process for these students. It's trying to personalize that whole experience to help them get to graduation, essentially.
Awesome.
It's not cookie cutter rather.
Everyone's different.
In that discussion on the honors versus the AP versus the dual enrollment IB, because this program is going to be geared a lot towards that counselor that is trying to do their best to advise that student. I guess from your perspectives, is that student with the A in an IB course or an AP course viewed higher than a student with, of course, or even a C in the IB course or a B? Is that student viewed in a better light than a student who gets an A in a CP course?
That's a good question, but I think you have to look at the whole entire transcript when you're looking at AP versus CP courses or anything in that area, because I feel like many students in the state and across the nation are forced into more advanced coursework so that they can get that college credit. We want to see our students succeed, and those CP courses are absolutely great at getting those students to learn the materials necessary to go on to that next step and prepare them for success later on. If it's something where a student is pushed into very advanced coursework because that's what they have to offer and it's not something that they're confident in, I think they can struggle later on because of it.
Now, since we look at rigor, when we are looking at our application process, we don't favor like IB over honors necessarily. We consider rigor, honors, AP, IB, dual enrollment. So if we see any of that looks great. We look at that as the student challenge themselves. But we don't want to see an F in an IB.
Just because you took it, right?
It's like, oh, okay, that's technically like a C. Like, no, we don't. we don't want to look at it like that. But like I was saying earlier, if you are strong in math and science, why not go ahead and challenge yourself and take the honors or the AP? Because you will more than likely succeed in that class, because that's just how your brain works. But if you know that you aren't strong, in math and science, it's okay to take the CP course. Like, you aren't going to succeed, or if you just really feel in your heart, like, I don't need to be in an honors class. I will never forget, sophomore year, my biology teacher tried to put me in AP chemistry. I said, that was funny. No, I don't want to do that. The highest I'm going to go is honors, and that's it, because I know I knew that just was not how my brain works. So I think that it's important to talk to the school counselors or to talk with that teacher that knows you very well, and just to kind of go from there. So since we look at rigor, we do want to see, and every single class does not have to be an honors class or an AP class. Like, we just want to see a few. Like, you challenge yourself in some capacity while you're in high school.
Right.
And I think you see a lot of the issue is that students, they're so competitive about that GPA. So they're taking those classes that they might not necessarily think they can do well in, but they're like, well, I gotta compete, this is where I am in my class rank, this is what I gotta do. And what students need to begin to realize is that there's lots of right options for them as far as college is concerned. There's lots of wrong ones, but there's also lots of right ones. There's not a perfect school. There's not, this is my dream school. If I don't hit this GPA and I don't get in there, my life is over. Lots of students get denied from their top school.
Yes.
That happens every year.
Often than you know.
Yes.
Very often.
And those students typically find another school that works just as well for them.
And very successful.
Yeah, so there's lots of right options for them. So they got to focus less on that GPA, more on, taking care of themselves, I would say.
Right. And I think that's the message that we send as admission officers, at particularly four-year institutions, that this is the average. This is what we're looking at, and not to make light of those who are doing well and getting those high GPAs and high test scores. There is a certain review that, they do have a priority. If you do well and if you make those grades, but the other key component in bringing into this is scholarships. So, the higher, of course, that you are GPA and your SAT and ACT scores are, the stronger your profile is, the more chances you have at our institutional scholarships. So that plays a huge piece.
It does.
So, a straight CP or something like that may not get you that top level scholarship as opposed to, a decent grade point average would take an AP or honors curriculum.
No, I can't speak to all colleges. I know Winthrop best. So with our institution, I know that we offer scholarships to students who have above a 3.5 weighted GPA, and then most of our academic institutional scholarships will vary based on ACT or SAT scores.
Right.
That's how it has been in past years, but it is something that getting a good GPA is attainable by taking CP courses. It's a balance of understanding that you need to comprehend what you're learning and get and kind of challenge yourself to get that highest GPA you can.
Absolutely.
The application process was stressful, very stressful. Some colleges use the common application, which is super long, and then some of them have additional information that they want. That's only for that school, so that got kind of complicated. And then other schools didn't use the common application. They had their own application, and that added another layer of complication. So yeah, I still remember getting really frustrated and it being really stressful. And then of course the application fees can get kind of expensive. But it worked out. I did end up going to Columbia College for my freshman year and then transferred to Winthrop. So procrastination has always been a weakness for me. So definitely getting on that earlier would have helped. Yeah, I think just starting on the applications earlier, maybe asking questions earlier rather than, again, waiting until the last minute and realizing, oh, I don't know how to do that, or I don't know what they're asking for. And scholarships too. Scholarships are really important. I definitely should have gotten on that sooner, and my mom reminds me of that a lot. So yeah. I was able to get a little bit of help from my high school guidance counselor. She was busy a little bit that year, but when I was able to get a hold of her, she was able to answer my questions pretty quickly.
So how do you think school counselors can help students?
I think with a lot of things that we said, I know early awareness, our school counselors are, their student loads are just enormous. They have a lot of students in their lineup that they have to make sure that they take care of, not only with the high school information, but preparing them for college. A lot of our schools have what's called now college specialists. So that particular person is geared towards making sure all things college and work-related and military is taken care of. So those schools who are fortunate to have that particular person, they can focus on higher ed and all of those types of things. So that early awareness piece is getting there. It's coming along. It's starting as early as 9th grade, as soon as they come in and just really kind of seeing what their interests are. So I think a lot of our school counselors are, really gearing towards that particular path with a lot of our students.
I think like having different schools come to visit their high school, whether it's 2-year, 4-year, HBCU, PWI, so because a lot of students might think there's not a college out there for me, and that's not the case. So if you have different schools that come to that high school and see what it is that they have to offer, I think that is something that is good. We are one person. I know a lot of us Midlands is our area, and there are several, all over the state really. So there might be sometimes that school counselors might have to reach out to us, whether it's, not so we forgot about that school. Right. We just have a lot of schools that are on our plate. So they have a lot of students, on their load and things like that. So I just think exposing to students like the different types of colleges and universities that are available at a younger age is definitely something that school counselors could do.
I would say a couple things. One, at least in the technical college system, Midlands Technical College specifically, because that's what I can speak to, all of our admissions counselors, part of what we do is also community outreach. So we're more than happy to be out at high schools helping supplement counselors in any way we can, whether it's doing a lunch and learn about a certain career, something of that nature. We're just as happy to do that. A lot of times our 4-year counterparts just don't have the time in their schedules to give to schools like that.
We appreciate you.
Yes. But technical colleges, we have a 3-county service area. That's it.
Right.
28 high schools.
That's it. Yeah.
That's manageable to be able to get out there and help those middle school, elementary school, high school students. So especially our schools here in the Midlands, they can rely on my office. They can give me a call, and I'm happy to send out anybody to help them do whatever they're trying to accomplish as far as college and career readiness. And I think another thing counselors can definitely be sure that they're doing, which I think they already do a pretty good job of, is not pigeonholing students into any one particular direction.
Yes.
Sometimes you get a student who, you just look at them and you're like, okay, he's going to be an engineer, right? And so everyone's just pushing, as opposed to letting that student discover, okay, where's the best fit for me? What's the best career fit for me? So understanding their strengths, but also understanding that we shouldn't push in that direction. We should just provide the guidance that they need when they're navigating their own direction.
And I think giving them options is really key. I think with school counselors, you have to be so careful, and even with college admission officers, you have to be so careful not to be judgmental based on just the cover of that book, because a student, you can say, okay, well, no, I don't think you're going to be able to go to College of Charleston, or I don't think you're going to be able to do where you're going. I don't think you're going to make Clemson or USC, but you don't know. And what that does to a student is it just breaks down their confidence at an early level, and then college is so far out of reach at that point until I don't even want to go to school. And they can even start messing up while they're in high school to make academics even worse than what. So I think the language has to be different, and we really have to watch how we're communicating with every student from every walk of life, whether it's a first gen, whether it's 3 siblings went to school. They're still not the same. Okay, that student could be different. So we really have to watch the conversations and the language at that level.
So what initiatives does the South Carolina Commission of Higher Education offer to help students through the application process?
Okay, I'll take this one. I think we offer 3 awesome college access programs, and they all touch on different phases of the college admission process. I think the main one, though, that really touches on the college application is obviously College Application Month. That is our state's adaptation of the American College Application Campaign. We actually started in 2009 with 12 schools down on I-95 corridor with about 2,000 students, and this past year, 2017, we actually were up to 230 schools reaching over 49,000 seniors in South Carolina. So it's probably one of the better programs or the best programs that we do. We basically work with high school counselors, principals. We get them to select a date in their school. It can be in the months of August all the way through, and we actually had a December event this year, pushed back due to weather, where they select a date in their school that they would like college reps to come into their schools on that day and help their seniors complete applications. From our part at CHE, we then reach out to the local colleges or even statewide colleges, and we ask them, hey, would you be willing to help this high school on this date complete those college applications? And so it's a successful program. We go to national convenings all the time, and South Carolina's program stacks up very well in comparison to the other 50 states, or 50 states in the territory. But again, it's one of our stronger programs, and I think we've grown it to the point where we're touching the majority of the public high schools. Obviously, there's room for growth and improvement. We really do want to tap into the private high schools, homeschools. We actually had a virtual high school this year participate for the very first time, and that was really exciting. I think that's a way to get involved. But again, that's probably our strongest program in terms of helping students complete that first step in that college admissions process, dealing with the application.
And I think we all love College Application Day.
It's awesome.
That's one of the highlights of the recruiting season, going in, and it's not a day of recruitment per se, as far as going into the high school, but we help students with any and all applications, college applications that they're applying to. So it's a day that we spend with the seniors, and we answer their questions. Some of us bring in application fee waivers that particular day that waives their application fee. They don't have to, pay the application fee. So that it's an exciting day for us. For a lot of the institutions that are able to send admission officers out to cover majority of the state.
And I think a lot of schools, for the most part, they'll get a good number of admissions counselors out there. So and because it's not about recruitment, they can serve all those students regardless if those students are interested. And I think all of us sitting up here believe in higher education, right? And we care about student success, which is why we love that day so much, because it's not about our institution, it's not about us as an admissions counselor, it's what can we do to help you be successful on your path after high school. So I love going to them, and a lot of schools, give you some delicious food along the way.
Thank you, counselors.
But the key is, we're helping. We're trying to help them through no matter what they're trying to apply for, whether it's a 4-year institution, a 2-year institution, or one of those professional programs that's going to help them pursue a specific career. You always walk out feeling like you've helped a specific student in something that they might not have been able to do outside of the school day. Some students still don't have access to applications or online applications when they go home. They might have extracurricular activities that are preventing them from filling out those applications.
That's a good point, Tom.
And on top of that, the application fee waivers really help students who are applying to multiple different colleges, because it can rack up in costs if you're applying to multiple different universities.
Planning for college begins long before a student decides which schools they might like to attend. According to collegeboard.org, 9th grade is a good time for students to start thinking about career options. As they move into high school, they can plan their courses around their vocational interests. This will give them a better idea of whether they will need a 2-year, 4-year, or technical college degree to pursue the jobs they want. Job shadowing and interviewing people already working in their fields of interest are also a good way for students to find out what kinds of skills they will need. It may also help them narrow down their career choices. 10th graders can attend career fairs and tour college campuses. Participation in extracurricular activities is encouraged. Junior year is busier for prospective college students. This is the year to take tests like the PSAT, the SAT, and the ACT. It's also time to start looking for sources of financial aid. Make a list of colleges you are interested in and talk with recent graduates about their experiences. Check college and university websites for admissions requirements and deadlines. Students can narrow down their choices and get to work on applications, essays, and gathering high school transcripts, sending them out by the fall of their senior year. Teachers, coaches, and family friends may be willing to write letters of recommendations if you need them. collegeboard.org suggests a campus visit if you haven't gone already before you accept an offer to attend a school. Look for acceptance letters and financial aid offers by April, and remember to visit your high school counselor's office if you need help or have questions.
All right, and this is to each of you. What final piece of advice would you give a high school senior when it comes to finding information about the right college for them?
Okay, yes.
You're starting.
I would say prior to that, study something that you're actually passionate about. Don't, you're going to find a job. Most people that I know, you're not going to get your dream job when you graduate college, so they can just take that out of their head. Like, study something that you know that you are going to want to study for 4 or 5 years. That is something I did not do. And I'm glad I had a mother who encouraged me, that's the best way I can put it, to study what I actually wanted to do. So once you know it is what you want, so you have an idea, do your research. Don't go to a college or apply to a college because mom and dad want you to go there because they're alum, or the counselor's like, I really, really think you'll do well. You know in your heart whether that school is right for you. So one of the things about researching is actually go visit that college. You might think that is the college for you, and you step foot on that campus, you're like, this is not it. I'm pretty sure we've all done that, visited some college. So definitely go on those college tours. I mean, they can definitely take, time out of your day, but it'll be worth it. I think that will, you want it to be a good fit for you academically, financially, socially. Like that is where you're going to invest your time, energy for 4 to 6 years. So be sure that is somewhere you want to be for a good chunk of your life.
And kind of touching on that, I'm going to touch a lot of the same points because I have to agree with you. Doing your research on the institution that's for you is super important. You have to remember that you're going to be there for 4 years, maybe longer.
Or 2.
Yes, or 2. Yes, I'm so sorry.
We have some one-year programs too. Thanks.
There you go, 1 to 6 years. We'll keep it at that, just somewhere in that range. But you want to make sure whatever you're studying is going to be something you want to pursue longer. And you want to make sure wherever you're going is the right fit for you. The thing I always like to tell students, you're going to see similar programs across the state, across the world. You're going to have business programs at multiple different institutions, biology, chemistry, engineering. They exist out there. The big factors that you want to look at the student body that you would be joining. Look at the campus you'd be living on. Look at the opportunities and the services that the university is going to be able to offer you. And look at the financial status of everything. Make sure you look at everything holistically and make sure you visit because it is a completely different thing seeing it online and actually stepping foot on that campus. There's so many times when a student will walk into a campus and just say, this doesn't feel right. And go with your gut because you're going to be there for more than a year, most likely. And it's gonna give you a little bit better feeling if you actually enjoy going to where you are.
And I would probably just reiterate what I said earlier in that there's no one right college. There's many right choices. So I don't want any students to be discouraged if they're not accepted into their top choice school. We also see every year students who end up at their perfect college and a year later they're transferring somewhere else because guess what? It wasn't such a perfect fit.
Yes.
So there are many right options, so don't be devastated by one decision. Find another option that's also going to work for you. So that's some advice I would give those students. And also, the second piece of advice is don't be afraid to utilize your resources. It's really easy for them to utilize their college information specialist or their counselors at their high school because they're familiar with those individuals. It's a lot harder sometimes for them to utilize us as a resource, mainly because they don't see us nearly as much as they see others. And they're like, well, I don't want to ask a silly question or I don't want to take a misstep here. But the whole point of what we do is to help them through that process. So don't be afraid to reach out to college admissions counselors and to talk to them about your process and to have a better understanding of what the enrollment process will look like.
Well, a lot of what everyone just said, preparation. Preparation is the key, and whatever that looks like for whatever they're interested in, under the whole preparation umbrella, shadowing, mentorship is very important to really kind of figure out what path they want to, a student wants to go down. And on the flip opposite, take advantage of resources. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're resources. So we want students to take advantage of that. No question is a dumb question, because if you don't know, you don't know. Right. So we want to make sure that we are being utilized in that way. With social media now, technology now, you can get in contact with us anywhere, any place, on any kind of device. We're out there. So really preparation and really just taking advantage of what it is that we're doing. State of South Carolina, we are doing some fantastic things in again, access and preparing students and families for higher education.
I don't have a lot to add. You guys have done that. I think the one thing that I would say is that we live in a state that has so many options. We have a ton of colleges, and there's going to be a college that's right for someone out there. I think you hit it on the head. That being rejected or being told no once is not the end of it. There are a ton of different ways you can get to the college that you think you really want to be at. And sometimes those ways make sense financially a little bit more for your family situation. So I would just say use your resources. There is probably a college application month going on in your high school. There's probably a College Goal South Carolina, which is our FAFSA completion event, somewhere going on near you, where you can make your application and you can find out how you're going to pay for college. So if we can be of any help, we're a phone call away.
Okay, awesome. Thank you to all of our guests for being here, and thank you all for watching. Bye-bye.
This episode of Carolina Classrooms was produced in partnership with the South Carolina Commission on Higher Education. For more information on the services offered by the CHE, check out their website at che.sc.gov. GetSmartSC is CHE's new information website designed to assist every kind of student with researching colleges, comparing costs, and developing the best plan for them. The website features the Palmetto Calculator, which allows cost comparisons among South Carolina colleges and universities. Visit GetSmartSC.com for more information. Student ambassadors at Crossroads Intermediate School are learning life skills that will help them through school and beyond. In the classroom, they practice shaking hands and greeting one another.
With the handshaking activity, that's one of those first skills that really need to be taught as far as introduction. The first impressions can make a huge difference as when you're looking at entrance into college or careers or even just meeting people on the street, that first impression. So we wanted to make sure that our ambassadors were equipped with those skills and felt comfortable in doing a handshake. And it's really funny because the first couple ones that they would have a limp hand and they were not good at making eye contact. And so we would have to stop and, okay, these are the little skills that you need to work on so that you make a better first impression. And so that was one of those first things that we really wanted to make sure that they had mastered before we went on to other soft skills later on.
Military is strictly voluntary.
Guest speakers come to the school to share stories about their careers and life experiences. The students are encouraged to ask questions. The ambassadors put what they've learned into action. Veterans were invited guests at the school, and over breakfast, the students introduced themselves. The students interviewed the veterans, asking questions about when and how they served.
How did you stay in touch with your family?
I was pretty fortunate that we got to use the phone.
This is important because they need to know that we appreciate what they did serving for us, and that we do appreciate it and we acknowledge that they did something really good for our country.
The one I thought was cute was What was it like the first few days in the service? Pure terror. But yeah, they had a good selection of questions to get a good overview of what we did.
They heard some interesting stories as well.
I'm Native American, Tuscarora. This is my headdress. We call it our Gastoa. This here, though, is an eagle feather, and this was given to me because of combat for Kosovo.
There are lots of reasons this is important. I think primarily, we're in an age of technology, and there's a lot of electronic devices that take up so much time that pull away from the social interaction with people. So I think one of the top reasons would be that this is a wonderful social experience for the students. It's a learning experience, and it also helps them reflect on the importance of freedom in our country and to thank the people that work very hard to keep us safe and keep our country free.
The skills these students are learning will help them in their everyday lives, getting them college and career ready, no matter what they decide to do after they graduate.
Well, thank you. Well, nice meeting you. You have a good day.
Who was your favorite teacher? Who inspired you?
I actually had two. First was my dad. He was actually my teacher in junior high. He loved history, although he's an art teacher. And he brought home books and all sorts of things for me, so I had his teaching both at home and in the classroom. Because he was a teacher in my school system, I knew all the other teachers. So that was also helpful because I got to know the teachers after school. Another was Mr. Cole, who I had in high school. He really inspired me to think about history in a different way, and that's actually a reason why I thought about going on to undergrad in history. I didn't go right away, but when I went back, I realized that that was something he saw in me, and then it was something that I saw in myself later on.
Share your stories with us on our Facebook page, and be sure to join us as we celebrate teachers, Wednesday, May 29th at 7 p.m. on SCETV.